What is freaking up? My name is Eve.
My name is Sarah.
And we are Burnt Out Perfectionist. If you checked out our last episode, we're still barely holding on at this point. We just filmed a prayer episode all about menstruation.
Menstruation station.
Free to message us on Instagram. Because we've now resorted to like writing them out and sticking them in a jar. And then I pull one out and I'm like, too depressing.
A little emo.
Depressing. A little emo, I know. So the one that I chose is all about being Canadian.
First off, our healthcare is not free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our healthcare, our universal healthcare, like the basics are.
So healthcare isn't free. It's factored into your taxes. Then there's the provincial part of the healthcare, which up until, 2016, 2017, we still had to pay a premium, which I know is significantly less than folks in like America and some other places pay, which was, I think it worked out to like $150 a family, depending on how many people you had and stuff. And that was on a monthly basis. And then that was taken out by the government that was in power. So when it comes to specifically when it comes to healthcare and being Canadian and stuff like that. So when you look at certain products and stuff like that we have, they're significantly less, but not as cheap as where they are in some areas. So as an example, I'm going to screw this up, Salbutamol. I call it Ventolin. And if you get one of those, it's like $20.
It's an inhaler.
Yeah. It's like
you just said the name of the medication. I'm like, it's an inhaler.
Sorry. And that's about $20. And then my other one is Symbicort. And Symbicort it ranges anywhere from $150 to $250. When before I used to have several different things. So if I was to get all my stuff, have no additional medical benefit coverage through a company that I worked for or my husband worked for, my medication would still cost $750.
And the other thing is that, yes, we're the closest country near us is America. So easiest way to compare. When we go into the emergency room, we don't have to pay.
Correct.
Those services are come out of our taxes and stuff like that. We get the treatment there. We don't get a bill after.
No.
Unless there's prescriptions and stuff like that you pay when you become an outpatient. So when you're inpatient in the facility, you do not pay really anything.
Yeah.
And then once you leave and you have diabetes medication, mental health medication, all of that, those you still have to pay for on a month-to-month basis. If I go into the walk-in clinic or I see a doctor, I don't have to pay before I go.
But you usually have to pay for a doctor's note if you need to produce it for, depending on what province you're in, to produce a doctor's note, which is anywhere from $15 to $50.
Yeah. And then same thing with if you have to go for specialized testing, sometimes you have to pay for it.
Physiotherapy, stuff like that.
And yes, some of it's covered, but it's not I feel sometimes it's made it seem it's we just walk up and we just get whatever. I would compare baseline with no benefits to be what America is with with benefits.
Yeah, that's the best thing that I can think of, because like you said, a lot of people think, oh, okay, well, they're totally covered. They have all this stuff covered, everything like that. So there is obviously the certain line, the expensive things and stuff like that.
But yeah, that's not saying that we're not appreciative of that, but just a heads up.
Yeah.
Don't get everything for free.
No, you still, when it comes to benefits and stuff like that, if you have work benefits, so that'll help cover prescription costs, and you still pay monthly for that. So with the employment discount and stuff like that, usually, depending on the plan and what they've negotiated, how big your company is, it's usually about $150, depending on how many people are in your family. At one of the jobs that I worked at, it was about $350 a month off of your paycheck. And most of the time, the company pays a certain amount into it, and then you're paying the difference or whatever. They'll pay for a baseline plan, and then you can choose to upgrade. It shows the difference. So glasses are not included, inhalers, medication, stuff like that. CPAP machines, allergy testing, stuff like that, you usually have to pay like $65 to $75 when you go to that. Sometimes you can get a refund, sometimes you can't. A lot of that stuff, though, like going to a podiatrist, you pay out of pocket unless you have benefits. Yeah. And some of that stuff is like ridiculous. Like my kid has $500 insoles for shoes.
Well, like, and the essentials are covered of like if you didn't have any like genetic conditions or anything requiring medication, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
even like antibiotics you have to pay for though.
Oh yeah, like it's well, by essential I just mean essential for somebody who like doesn't have diabetes or like those types of conditions and stuff like that requires continuous care.
One thing that I find that's like super funny though is I never thought of this, but say if you have like a wart on your foot and you can go to the doctor and whatever, so you get freezing and burn it off. But say if you buy those like at home ones, they're anywhere from like $20, sometimes $40. They're really expensive and they don't work that well. And I remember I had a stubborn one on my foot and I went to the doctor and I was like, hey, like I think I need help. He's like, oh, okay, well I can do it, but I can also give you this cream. You just need like a little bit of it and you put it on with like a Band-Aid. You put some Vaseline around the outside and like it'll help and do it. And I was like, oh, I have something very similar to that from like a brand that probably everybody knows. And he goes, oh, this is actually significantly like it's stronger. It works a lot better. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So he gives it to me. And at that time we didn't have really good medical benefits. And I was like, fuck, this shit's going to be so expensive. Like, how much am I going to pay for this tube? It's $9. $9.
Yeah, so that's definitely I find the most interesting one.
Yeah.
Like my favorite stereotype that I've ever heard about Canada is that we ride polar bears to igloos.
Oh my god, I do not live in an igloo.
I would like to clarify if you haven't listened to the previous episode, Sarah was sharing about how our province is currently on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's watching Frozen, but as we know from Olaf, when it's summer, snow melts. So I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, there's a lot of people who like honestly think that we do. So is it Churchill, Manitoba? It's the higher part of Manitoba. There is polar bears. But like,
it's not all of us.
It's not all of us. Like literally, if you take the states that align closest to the provinces, it's pretty freaking close. Like the Midwest,
yeah,
you got your Albertans, your Saskatchewan people, which
people from Saskatchewan,
yeah, Manitobans, and then you've got
where you're coming up with this,
and then like folks from like Ontario, very in line with that like Eastern mentality, which is so funny because a lot of people would be like, oh, you know, Ontario, like, it's a far east province. I'm like, actually, it's not the Maritimes.
I feel like also people forget about the Maritimes.
Oh my God, so many people do. It is freaking glorious over there. I mean, they've had some pretty devastating things happen in the last year.
Yeah, Canada's not doing the best with our environment right now.
But I mean, they are living the prime when it comes to housing costs.
Oh my God. So, fun fact, I'm obsessed with turrets. I always have been. If anybody doesn't know what a turret is, it is the triangle that, like the base is a circle and the top is a triangle. It's on a lot of castles. Sarah sent me on Prince Edward Island, but we all call it PEI. You can buy a castle for 275,000 Canadian dollars.
Yes.
Which, another aspect of Canada, housing. Housing's very expensive. So, like,
ridiculous.
If you thought of, like, California prices, that's, like, the pretty, like, standard here.
I want to say some of it's pretty close. I feel like we're leaning more into, like, the inner city prices, like Los Angeles, when it comes to British Columbia.
Oh, I just went to all of California. I, like, definitely the more populated cities and provinces, obviously, are higher prices. And a lot of it determines too how our dollar's doing versus like the US and stuff.
Oh, like a condo that's in a nice-ish location, sometimes not even nice-ish, can be anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million.
You're saying $800. I'm like, where?
And I'm like, is there amenities? Like, what is it? Do they just make all your food for you? Like, That's like,
Do you have a gold? I don't know why my
and that's not a penthouse, by the way, people. Not a penthouse.
no, definitely not a penthouse. But also the really funny thing is, as every Canadian does at least once in their lives, we would visit the States sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of people thinking, oh, you must be from Canada, they think that we're from, where did I get? I go Minnesota. Mom gets Minnesota.
I get New York or Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
I got Maine.
Oh, that actually match your aesthetic, so that makes sense.
Everybody forgets about Maine.
And like the Maritimes.
Honestly, though, I feel like I just need to live on like that far of East Coast. I feel like that's my vibe. But I remember we were camping down there. I don't know if you were there, but we were down in Washington, and we would visit, and it was always super nice and stuff. And we had these people beside us who were big football families. So we were talking to them and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, they first like talked to mom and stuff. They're like, oh, are you from Minnesota? And then I was like, no, I'm not. And they're like, oh, are you from Maine? And I'm like, no.
North Maine. Hi, North Maine.
And my favorite thing is it, oh, I'm from Canada. Number one thing that people say next, Toronto. And I'm like, what the fuck is Toronto? Toronto? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not from there. But it's like if we could like take America and separate them into like pieces, like break them up into like different sections. You got the South with like the twangs.
Yep.
And like you got like the fun accents and everything, and like this food on the first planet.
Oh my god, barbecue.
Oh, that's like Alberta.
Yeah.
So and then when you get to like more of the like Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Ohio, I would give that to Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Manitoba's like Maine, because everybody forgets about it.
Unfortunately, Manitoba has a lot of cool things.
No, I feel like that. I don't remember what's in Manitoba. And then Ontario is like kind of more of like the Seattle meets like California vibe, like very inner city.
I was gonna say they're like the Canadian New York, but that's
true. That makes sense.
I'm like, it's directly across the border. It's like there's similar stuff, but there's a lot of things that are not similar.
And this is like generalized, obviously, very different places.
Yeah,
everywhere. Quebec would be like, it's very different than the rest.
Washington D.C.
Oh, really? I was gonna say like it's so different and like fun and like has very different things. So I was gonna go with like Hawaii because it's like off.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it's kind of, well, it wants to be off, but not quite. But they have tons of different like food and stuff like that. Like there's people who hop over that I know from like Ontario, and they hop over to Quebec to go to like food festivals and like all this other stuff. And they talk about like how great it is. That's the place in Canada where like everybody, there's like French areas. Like it's the very heavy French area.
Newfoundland and Labrador. If you're Canadian and you're listening to this, I apologize. I just feel like other people might not know. That kind of area is a lot of like the coastal type.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like
non-consumerism, coastal type.
Yeah, like very like homey. Like I don't know what to compare it to.
The best way I can describe it is like somebody I know who actually moved from Ontario to like Newfoundland said that there's like they're all depending, of course, on what city you end up in. Where her and her family ended up in, they have like a butcher, a baker, candlestick baker. No, I'm just kidding. Like they go to produce stands. Like there's things that are very specific. It's not really like a supermart, heavy Walmart type area, which there are a lot of areas and stuff like that that don't have large commercial businesses in all areas. But it's very much like, I don't know. I've also been told it's very like, it's a lot more easygoing, a lot less like hustle culture type aspects.
I'd say like maybe like the Carolinas.
Yeah, that
like what the Carolinas
in line with it too. It's not that far away.
The Carolinas in like shows and stuff. So
Like Tree Hill.
Yeah, I was like One Tree Hill with Karen's Diner.
Yeah.
Very small. You can kind of get around and stuff like that. That's kind of what the Maritimes are. Obviously we have the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. Yukon is like I've had a couple of friends from the Yukon, and it kind of gives off the same vibe as the Maritimes. Obviously, it's more north, so it can be colder, but it has that very like hometown, very small town type vibe.
Yeah.
Northwest Territories and Nunavut are very involved with the Aboriginal cultures here. So, a lot of the times I watch this one TikTok. So I need to write these people's names down before I go, but she is literally the most beautiful person on the face of the planet. She is such a sweetheart. She lives in the Northwest Territories.
Oh, I was like, thank you so much.
And she's on TikTok and she's a model. So, which she like teaches a lot about, she's Inuk. And she teaches a lot about their culture and all the tools that they use. And she's like, yeah, like growing up, this is kind of the clothing that we use. And it's like, I like binge watch her videos because I'm just like, that is so cool. Why don't we do that still? And obviously it's a part of Canada, but Canada is very like, we're a very broad spectrum. And like BC, I feel like
we're fucking California, hands down.
I would like California, Washington.
Yeah, I mean, we line up with them perfectly and it 100% makes sense. Like, if I go to Washington, I literally feel like I'm in the same fucking place that I grew up in. I mean, I didn't know there was a lot, but I never found it, like, weird. Like, there's no culture shock, in my opinion. And even going to, like, California, I mean, the only culture shock that I have is the cost of food.
Oh, my God.
Like, we used to jump across the border because we used to live close to it and stuff like that when we go grocery shopping. And, like, you get a pack. This one always stands out to me. Pack of hot dogs. Average, back in the early 2000s, was, like, $2.50 for, like, a pack of hot dogs. You can go down to Washington and get them for 50 cents. Ramen noodles, 5 cents a package. They were 25 cents in Canada. Like, I know those aren't the healthiest options, but there were so many things that I remember going down there and getting things that we could not get up here because it was not part of the budget. You go down and get these pimped out lunch bowls. They came with like a Capri Sun.
Oh my God. Or those little like drinks with the little pops.
Yeah.
But I feel like the entirety of America was like the Disneyland to Canadians.
Oh, yeah. Like Trader Joe's. I know everybody's like on TikTok and probably sees it. Like Trader Joe's is like going into, there's a couple different like natural food stores and stuff like that. In British Columbia, a couple. We're known as like the hippier province. So obviously there's probably a lot more than other places, but they have a lot of stuff. But like you're looking at getting an average item and it's probably about $10. That's even before inflation and stuff like that. So going down there and going into Trader Joe's and being able to get something that's like dairy-free snack and it's $3 or less than $3, even with like a conversion, is just like, it's so cool. And like going in there and like everything is Trader Joe's brand. Like there's nothing that isn't Trader Joe's brand. Like you just kind of go in there and it's like the experience of going in there and stuff like that. And some folks are like, oh, well, it's so expensive. I'm like, touche. It is expensive to the average American supermarket, but even to Canadians, it's still significantly cheaper. Like my husband goes down there for work trips and I'm like, here's my Trader Joe's list. Or Cash and Carry, which is like a restaurant supplier store that they allow everybody to go to. It's not Costco, but it has like,
is it like Sam's Club?
No. So you can get like, you know, those giant things of like dressing?
Yeah.
Salad dressing? You can get those.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like I got that thing of Valentina's, that giant one that I got for $3, and you were like, this is like $20 Canadian. I'm like, no, I got for $3. And like they have like meat prices are ridiculous, and it's all restaurant grade like meat and stuff. Some of the stuff you have to butcher. Fun fact, my husband was a butcher for a while.
Also, this is a good time to say that when you go to America, if you're Canadian, please make sure that you look up the border security things prior to going. There's a lot of lovely rules, and like it just makes the border patrol people's lives a lot easier.
Yeah,
just follow them. Obviously, if if you can't bring it back over the border, you can enjoy it in America. But please respect those people. They have a very hard job.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Just a little preface. Please don't make their lives more difficult. That's the most Canadian thing I've ever said.
Oh my God. Also saying sorry and we're all polite. That's a downright fucking lie.
Yes and no. I feel like it kind of depends on, like, there's a lot of things, like, I feel like America, to me, was always quite saturated. So, like, when we would go to the store here, or, like, in any like, Canadian city that I visited, I'd walk in, and there would be, like, maybe 10 Oreo options at the
I was going to talk about the cookie section and the cereal section.
So the first time I brisked my way to America and I went into Walmart, I counted, and there was, at the time, it was when they were coming out with different flavors every 10 seconds, 43 different flavors.
I went to Fred Meyer, and one of the entire, and their sections are super long. They're like twice as long as the average Walmart one.
Yeah.
And the whole side of it was Oreo, Chips Ahoy, Golden Oreos, and then there was like Fudgios and stuff like that. Literally, the entire section was mostly just different types of Oreos and Chips Ahoy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed but so excited all at the same time.
The best way I can describe it is if you think of it as, like, Taylor Swift concerts is the perfect representation of Canada versus America. Canadians trying their best. They got 6 shows. They're trying to get those products over. They're spending thousands of dollars. Same with a lot of Americans. To get that opportunity. And then it's like a lot of things different happen and stuff like that. And you don't get them. So here, when, I made a little shout out to e.l.f. There's a Whoa Glow tinted sunscreen that was released in America.
Like a year ago?
And we'll talk about allergies a little bit later. I have the most sensitive skin on the face of the planet, to the point that I get, like, chemical burns on my face if I use the wrong things. And I was so excited because it was a dupe for another brand, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to use it because I'm not allergic to anything in e.l.f., which is, like, hopefully will still happen.
An affordable brand that helps out sensitive girlies. Love it.
And vegan and cruelty-free.
Yeah. All of the things.
Look out for the bunny. And I was like, oh my God, it's finally gonna happen. So it came into store. It was released into America a year and a half ago, I think. It came into store probably not even a month ago.
Yeah.
Very low quantities. Still can't get it.
And you can get it on Amazon, which I can usually get all the else stuff that you can't find there.
So, like, whenever you go on, like, TikTok or anything like that, and you see all of these Amazon girlies who would, like, go onto my Amazon storefront, and everybody knows the pain of when you click on it, and it goes, would you like to change your country? And you're like, God damn it.
Okay, speaking to that for a second, there's nothing worse than when you just, like, you get into the okay click.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that you clicked it, and then your husband goes on, and he's like, dude, Amazon is popping off today. There's so much good shit on here. And then he goes, to ship to Canada, it'll be $55. He's like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, shit. And he goes, you were looking at something that someone posted on TikTok or Instagram, weren't you? I'm like, oh, sure as hell was. And it'll be like an adorable linen matching set for like $25. Hi, everybody. Would you like to know how much it is in Canadian? $70. Plus, there may be additional fees on top of that.
Yeah, so we have to pay a lot of import fees and stuff like that. And, like, which I think is, like, I almost think of it as a nice thing. There's coasters in here.
Oh my God, there's coasters?
Sorry, Sarah's drink's leaking and it's bothering me.
It's perspiring all over.
Which is from Amazon.com. But I was like, oh, like, it can be kind of frustrating in a sense, but then I feel like on the flip side, it's like,
saves me so much money.
Saves me so much money. Also, I figured out how to do things on my own and stuff. And I'm like, do I actually need it? And then it's like, by the time that I go to America again, I'm like, I already forgot what I was looking for.
Oh, no. The worst thing is when you buy a bunch of clothing and one of two things happens. You're like, all right, I'm so excited for this store, any store that's outside of Amazon. And you buy a bunch of stuff and you check through and all you see is the dollar sign. And then when you check out and you're like, okay, I stayed within my budget. And then it's like, nowhere that you can see in very large printing does it charge in USD. And then you get your credit card statement and you're like, oh, hot damn. That costs $50 to $60 more. But you know what can make it even more worse? When the person who's dropping it off knocks on the door and makes you pay additional taxes and fees on top of that of like 25. I've had ones from like eBay where they're like, oh yeah, this brand doesn't sell anything in Canada, so you have to pay this fee. And it was like $55, and I thought I had a dope deal on a jacket and maybe saved $20.
Yeah. What's like makes you shop more local and stuff? Like, I feel like I definitely prefer to shop more local just because I'm like, I know that like the taxes and fees. But you know what's the hardest? And I've talked to Sarah about this before, is when you are just like such a fan of like certain like influencers or celebrities, movies, all of those types of things, and you go to buy like the brand new merch and you're like, oh my God, and you're like, it's okay, like in America it's $35, switch to Canadian, it's $55.
I'm like, I paid $55 for a hoodie, especially if it means supporting a fucking queen like Miss Alicia Murray. I wanted that burnt out hoodie so fucking bad.
Oh my God. Or like any of them. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do it. Like, I want to, like, I'm so proud of stuff like that. And you like get in and you're like, okay, $55 Canadian, that's fine. And then you get to the shipping and it's $45. And I'm like, but the sweater was $55. How? What?
Oh, and then the best part is that sometimes it'll state like maybe like VAT or whatever may be applicable as well. So you're like, I get nervous then because of the PTSD I have from the people knocking out the door from when I was like buying shit on Amazon and stuff, not Amazon, eBay and stuff. And I'm like, okay, even if I was to breeze it like Lauren or Lore DIY had this adorable sweater. It's like, I'm a fucking delight. It says delight on it.
Yeah.
Here's the whole thing. I'm like, I want that. Like, I want it so bad. And I wanted the blanket. So I was like, okay, you got to pick one. She says it's the softest fucking blanket. It'll be hilarious. I love to have swear words on things and catch people off guard. Especially doesn't mean this aesthetic and soft. I put it all in. And I go to get this blanket. And I mean, I'm a hoe for a blanket.
That's a very cute blanket as well.
And like she said, she's very picky. So again, I'm justifying this in my brain. I need this blanket. My husband listens to her podcast, Wild Till 9, that she has with her soon-to-be husband, Jeremy, because we adore them.
I love Jeremy.
Oh my God, yo, I tried to buy this fucking blanket and it was like $130. I'm like, this ain't no Barefoot Dreams blanket though. Like, if it was Barefoot Dreams and had it on it, which I heard is supposed to be the most magical blanket ever, like, would I debate about it? Maybe. Like, if I was putting it on my bed, maybe. But I'm like, really? Why is it so expensive? Oh my God. And then I saw somebody comment online, they got charged VAT. They were in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And they got charged VAT of $50. I was like, I'm not paying $200.
Which like totally different if you were paying for a product and like you were paying for the product. Say it was like an Etsy store person. They like their flat out price was like $70. And you're like, yeah, totally. It's a handmade item.
Yeah.
I'll totally pay for that or however much it is. When like obviously we have to pay our truckers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But when the amount of taxes and shipping adds up to the item, I'm like, my line has been crossed.
Or even like, I get like, sometimes I'll wait to see until they have like a mass sale on some of their on their websites and stuff like that. And it'll be like, oh, okay, sweet. But like, just to let you guys know, there are brands that I love. There are brands that are located right here in British Columbia where I'm still charged $10 to $20 for shipping, and I live 3.5 hours away. Yep, from where they ship. And I'm like, what the hell? Then and everyone's like, oh yeah, shop locals with the other stuff. I'm gonna be totally honest. Sometimes I just default to Amazon because I have already prepaid for all my shipping, and that makes it so much cheaper. Also, I would like to give a special notification to the people who are purchasing things from the American stores and putting it on Canadian Amazon. Stop being a dick. Okay, so backstory. I love me a strawberry refresher. Eve knows this.
Yes.
I was like, fuck, I'm going to start making these. I wish Starbucks would like actually make the mix for the strawberry acai refreshers. So they used to do that for a lot of them. They came out with the powder ones and they were great. And I bought them all the fucking time and then they disappeared. Very annoying. Anywho, I digress. I saw a person who does like all the Starbucks hacks. Like she used to work there. She has that TikTok and she...
My God's like, oh, with the binder.
Yes. Oh, Mel, and she has all the drinks and stuff. And she's like, get a Crystal Light. Okay, don't come at me. Artificial sweetener, I know. But get the caffeine Crystal Light, strawberry, and mix it in. And you have that. And then it was like, then get coconut milk and mix it in. Because I like mine with coconut milk in it. And she listed the stuff off. And I was like, we have Crystal Light. I can do this. Go to the store. I'm like, oh. And then I remembered Canada has this huge law, which is probably for good reason, about having caffeine in things or a mixture of caffeine and certain other ingredients, which is now why they're removing Monsters and Prime Energy drinks from Canada. I know, sorry.
They're removing Monsters?
All Monster products? I know. Okay, and we don't drink these things all the time. This is like when I've had a busy week. Sounds like I'm going to say it's an alcoholic beverage. I've had a busy week or I'm about to go on a trip and this bitch needs to clean and needs to get everything organized after everybody goes to bed. Because sometimes I'm just more efficient by myself. And I'll drink one of those and sure, I might be up all night, but man, they're good. Also, the rosé one is fucking delicious.
If you want a Canadian alternative, slightly shout out. These ones are BC made. They're called High Rollers.
Mm-hmm.
They're made with ginseng. Our dad and I used to deliver commercial ice cream, and we actually met the guy who, I think he's like one of the salesperson or he was the owner. I don't remember. Sweetest person ever. And was like, oh, like I have a very high caffeine tolerance. And I was like, oh, like I don't really know. Like I would have a couple Monsters. And like I love them, but sometimes it was kind of hard to find them. And I was like, man, I just wanted to try something new. And he was like, try a High Roller. And I was like, oh yeah, totally, I'll try it. Canada's beautiful, by the way. I think they have two flavors. Amazing, delicious. If you need an alternative, Alani Nu is also great, but we don't really get a lot of flavor in Canada.
Oh yeah, like okay, so we finally got the peach one, and we got it in the powder, and it slaps real hard. I love it. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
I would love to get it in a can.
No. There is one that I have had my eye out that I am on. I am a subscriber on the Alani.com website. It is not the Kim Kardashian one. It is the one, the only, the Arctic Blast.
Oh, well, you want Arctic Blast? I want Witch's Brew, which is the caramel apple one, or I want Kim-Aid. I'm that bitch.
Also, fun fact, I think I've only had a caramel apple once, so I don't really know what they taste like.
I don't.
Do you remember?
I ate a lot of the suckers at Dairy Queen. They used to have the caramel apple blizzard, and then you would like give it to the person with the spoon, and then the sucker you could either put it in or like give it to them on the side. I was like, that's gross. I'm not touching something like that goes in someone's mouth. And I would eat them so much so that like our boss Bob was like, Sarah, we need to talk about your lollipop addiction.
But like I had really bad jaw issues from like 13 to like now.
Yeah.
And so my jaw would stick if I would try to open my mouth. And then I also have really bad, like my teeth are really sensitive too. I just sound like a mess constantly.
Oh my God, you don't need to eat it on the stick. I use one of those apple slicers and cut them. Like, you know, like,
but then I just was like, I might as well just like them up.
What I've done is they have the wraps that you used to be able to get in like the produce section where it's just like a circle of caramel, and then you wrap it around the apple and put it in the microwave, and then you microwave it. So what I used to do, because I would be like, I don't like eating it, or I was the kid where the apple kept going down the fucking stick, like it would like slide through. I don't even know how. So I would just cut the apple slices up and then put the caramel sheet over top of all the apples and then let it melt and then eat it. Or Mom made this wicked caramel dip to dip your apples in. Oh, it's delicious. It had cream cheese in it.
Yeah, but I just like never. But there's that one that he made, Arctic Slush, juicy peach one.
I found out that the Whitney Simmons collab ones are at Vitamin King, where Ben's cousin lives.
Oh, really?
And she pulls one out, and I went, bitch, is that the Whitney Simmons collab of the Alani Nu? And she looks at me, she goes, whoa, you know your influencers. I'm like, yeah. She goes, yeah, they have them. So I'm going to check in a couple different areas because she says the blue one versus her blue one, which is like the white can.
That's the Arctic Slush.
Fuck off. Is that it? Oh, yeah, no. She says the white one's way better.
Yeah, because the blue one's great and all.
I love it. It's sour as fuck.
Oh. Yeah, that's another thing. We don't really get a lot of options of Alani Nu, but we get the energy drinks we don't get a lot of. But we get quite a few flavors of like the BCAAs, pre-workouts.
We maybe get like a random new Oreo flavor every once in a while. I feel like they're seasonal. I feel like they just don't hit as hard as they do in Canada though in America.
There is one Oreo flavor that tops them all. And it is the cinnamon bun.
Oh my God, yeah.
It tastes like what Dunkaroos used to be. So if you weren't aware, Dunkaroos were in Canada until about 2005. Then they were taken away. And now they brought them back. And they don't slap as hard as they did before.
I feel like they made them like healthier. I don't know. They sucked the fun out of them.
They probably did.
There's so many random things though that they have like that we don't have. I feel like, I know it's funny, but it's like the food, the cosmetics. There's certain things that they have down there that we don't have. Just a lot of that is due to like health regulation.
And like not health regulation in the sense of like ingesting. Sometimes it's like certain ingredients are banned. It's very common in other countries.
Yeah.
My pick is if I was a millionaire or billionaire, I don't know how much money I would need for this, I would 1,050% open a Sonic here. Sorry, thanks. Hot Fudge Blaster.
Coney Island dog.
Oh my God. Literally every time.
Fries. They have curly fries, right? That was them?
No, they have tater tots.
Oh, I think I'm thinking of Jack in the Box.
Ooh, Jack in the Box. Also kind of slaps. My thing is though, is like when we drove down to America.
Yeah.
To go to Disneyland. Number one thing on my list. I can't even. Everybody had like one thing. My thing, I wanted to try as many milkshakes as possible.
Mm-hmm.
In America, at McDonald's, you get whipped cream and a maraschino cherry on your milkshake.
I'm sorry, what?
So in Canada, you get like the regular milkshake from McDonald's. It's just in a cup. America, it's in like the clear cups, like the coffee cups, and then you get whipped cream and a maraschino cherry on it.
Oh my God. The things you're missing out on. Also, for all of those who are unable to digest dairy, there's so many more alternatives. They just had yogurt down there for 10 years. We didn't have yogurt up here. There's all these different types of milk. Did you hear that there's pistachio milk?
Oh, yeah. There's so many.
I feel like that would just be really good in coffee. Like, there's certain things that I would just add to, like, coffee. It's not like I'm going to sit down with a cup of pistachio milk.
Like the longest time, Sarah only had almond milk, and every time I would go to her, she was like, "Oh, do you want some almond milk in your coffee?" And I was like, "I don't know how to describe it other than it tastes hairy."
Yeah, I know what you're like. I don't know how to describe it. What was the other one? Oh, we had rice milk here, but that's like really sugary. Like even if you get like unsweetened, it like spikes a lot of people's blood sugar. It depends on your body type though, but like. It didn't work for me. It was just more like water. And then almond milk is kind of more like water. I remember when cashew milk came in, I was like, oh, go fancy. But it only goes with certain things. And there's only certain ones that you can cook with. Because, man, there is some shit that tastes fucking nasty.
There's a lot of things that, like, I feel like a lot of the options, I'm like, yeah, that would have been nice, but, like, it doesn't apply type thing.
Yeah.
Like, what... I know that like most of the episode's been kind of negative, but I would like to also state the most magical thing about living in Canada is you could drive 30 minutes in a direction and like in our province, there's mountains everywhere.
Yeah.
If you want to go for a hike, you just drive 30 minutes and there's a mountain.
I can literally walk up to my backyard and there's a mountain.
Like, there's mountains. There's so many different things. Like, I remember growing up when you see, like, bears and deer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's so much of that around you. And I find that, like, our cities are cities, but they're, like...
Can I blow your mind for a second?
What?
So you know how Saliner's from Alberta, right?
Yep.
She never saw a raccoon until she moved to BC.
What?
Apparently, there are no raccoons in Alberta. She's like, I don't know if it was her specific area. Also, there's no rats, but there's just mice or something. There was a couple different things where, like, her sister was here. And I was like, you guys are totally just, like, yanking my chain, right? They're like, no, seriously. I'm like, that's okay. The only time I've ever seen a skunk is in the place I never thought I'd see it, downtown Vancouver. I was walking to work in downtown Vancouver. And all of a sudden, I'm like, that cat is shaped very differently. And it's walking its tail's up, and all of a sudden it turns sideways. It was a block away from me, and I was like, is that a fucking skunk? It came crawling out of a construction area. I was like, what the hell is this, Dr. Doolittle? And then, while I was standing, making sure that I was a far distance away from the skunk, I could realize where it was going, I looked to my right, and asleep on the light coast is the world's largest raccoon that I have ever seen. And I was like, man, I'm either going to stink or get rabies at this point. Like, and I lived in rural-ish areas. And I mean, the most I saw was like a possum. Terrifying. I don't like them. So I'm not a fan of birds.
Also, something that absolutely makes me die of laughter is the fact that a lot of American shows and movies are filmed in Canada.
Not all. Like, you know Netflix?
No, I said
Canada.
most of them.
Netflix is literally Canada. That Chad Michael Murray show is
Sullivan's Crossing is in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Supernatural was filmed, like, in Vancouver area.
It was filmed in Langley, British.
So, yeah.
It was Riverdale.
Bates Motel also filmed.
Still standing.
The really funny thing is a lot of people didn't realize that Supernatural was until, like, I recognized it. I think it was first season when they walked to a vending machine and there's all dressed chips.
Oh no, there's ketchup chips in there too.
Yeah, and I was like,
my favorite is it's like two worlds in one, different dimensions. So they are Sam and Dean, but they end up traveling into a city where they're Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles.
how dare you forget that?
Sorry, I just saw his face in my brain and I was
Pretty.
still pretty. And they show up at like their houses that they lived in and their actual wives are there. And they're
Which, like, fun fact, Jensen Ackles is married to Rachel from One Tree Hill.
underrated character. She could have been so much more and they could have kept her so much longer. There's probably some horrible reasons behind that because apparently that show had a terrible history.
Oh, yeah. If you want to learn about more, they do have a podcast about it.
Oh yeah, what is it called? Drama Queens or something? One Tree Hill, Drama Queens. I'm trying to remember. Anyways, it's the people who played Peyton, Brooke, and Haley. So yeah, they did that and it was like a total parallel, but when they're driving, they show the sign and
It is called Drama Queens.
it shows Vancouver and then it shows First Avenue and I was like, what? And they're driving and they're turning off of it. And they were showing like all down. He's like, what the heck? Where are we? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, honey, we live in Vancouver, Canada. This is where you film the show. And he's like, oh, she's like, are you doing that method acting thing or whatever? I want to say it was like the 10th season or something. And it was funny because I thought I always recognized a lot of the stuff, but I didn't want to be like assumptive.
Yeah.
But the big thing was when they showed up at the Hilltop Cafe. And I
Oh my God. Hilltop Cafe.
First off, this place is like a hole in the wall. It's located in between two car dealerships, in between this plot of land that's next to like a rural road and the highway. So you wouldn't think that this would be an average place. They went there lots of times and like changed things and everything and did it. But I was laughing so hard. I was like, seriously? I'm dinner at the Hilltop Cafe again. And I still want pie from there. And they have weird hours and I can never get in.
But there's like a lot of places that like they'll say, oh yeah, we're in Massachusetts. Oh yeah, we're in North Carolina.
Or Seattle.
Seattle. And I'm like, It's Alberta.
Every Hallmark movie is filmed here.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Oh my God, the worst was the Hallmark movie that was filmed that was set in Hawaii, and it was filmed in Kelowna, British Columbia. And you could see the mountain with the evergreen trees in the background. I was like, yo, that is not Maui.
Another movie that was filmed in Kelowna is the Puppy Love movie with Grant Gustin and Lucy Hale.
Huh. Oh, yeah.
They're walking like the boardwalk. So like in the summers, we used to visit Kelowna.
Do you mean The Flash?
The Flash. We used to visit Kelowna and we would always go to Okanagan Lake and we'd like look around and I was like, what are they talking about? And I was like, I recognize that area. It's 1,000% the Okanagan.
Oh, and that's the funny part is there's so many things that are like filmed within that area. Like part of Jurassic World is filmed in Merritt, British Columbia. Like that's why I say we're literally the California, but we have so many. It's like the further up you go, the more seasons you get or the more steady you get when it comes to like a colder area and stuff like that.
And like I feel like it's so interesting too, like 4 seasons.
Yeah.
We have 4 seasons. But I went for a school trip to Alberta in May.
Yeah.
It snowed.
Yeah, that was rude. I had that happen too.
And I was like, oh, this is so weird. But like we have the like, you know, Gilmore Girls when they switch seasons and everything and they're like, oh, it's fall and it's like color changing. Literally what Canada is.
Yeah.
Versus like love you, Alicia Marie, and she's like, oh my God, I bought this sweater because it's going to be fall and it's like
90 degrees.
Which is like a solid 30 degrees, 28 degrees Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
Celsius.
Oh, 100%. And apparently, like, the most beautiful place to go for, like, the fall moment is, like, Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, my God. It's because they have what's it called? The Bonbon Festival?
I don't know. There's, like, a bunch of stuff that's supposed to be. It's very similar to, like, when people go to, like, Maine or New York to see the leaves turn or something. That's why I'm, like, it's kind of Quebec, but it's kind of Ontario. Like,
it's, like, and I don't know. It's kind of weird because I feel like a lot of people are looking at it and they're like, oh, my God.
Yeah. And we're not knocking anybody. It all depends on the education system that you have, what television you watch, everything like that. Like, I literally grew up watching American television, thinking that when I went to high school, it was the end-all be-all of my life, that there was going to be football teams, which our football team had no funding. So we had rugby instead, which I knew nothing about. There was a lot of things when it came to that. And I was just like, there's such like a difference. And I'm going to be totally honest, and I'm going on record right now. I have found that people are more polite in America.
Really?
And the ones that I have been in, yes, I've had more people hold doors for me, less people not be offensive, more people strike up random conversations while standing in line. If I look confused or I'm looking for something specifically, I've had people at the grocery stores walk up and ask me if they need help. Versus I go to walk up to anybody in any area and they run away from me. I am tall, but like I'm not that scary.
I wonder if it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of places have changed.
Oh, a lot of places have changed in general. The mindset's changed, especially since
and it might just be some of the places that we've lived that it's changed. And some of the places we visit are very, like, homey. I'm very much, like, I still think one of these days I'll move to Nova Scotia.
I think that would be sweet. I'd be down.
Okay, so the other thing is that I am always hot. All the time. It is a pain in the ass. Comes with the hemochromatosis.
So is my kid, and so is my husband.
Oh, my God. And so, like,
I'm wearing a hoodie right now, and it's summertime.
Like, the true summer is at most of, like, 40 degrees sometimes.
Oh, sometimes it goes past that. Not that long ago, it broke 42.
Oh, yeah. It was, like, super hot. But then on the flip side, it comes to December or January, and you're just chilling at negative 25.
Negative 25 and backing a car to then drive hours to go see people for Christmas is terrible. Negative 25, you, like, walk outside, and it's like someone stole your breath. And I don't know if that's just me because I have asthma, but, like, fuck. It's fucking cold. By the way, we talk in Celsius. In Canada, we use Celsius and not Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit, from my knowledge, is Celsius times 2 plus 28.
I don't know. I just literally add
so
30 or
30 times 2, 60 is about 108 degrees Fahrenheit.
I don't know. Always when someone's like, "Oh my God, it's so hot outside," and I go, "I'm like, ooh, it's so hot."
Oh my God. And I'm like, I don't, like, we also have a lot of places, like, Canada has some of the most interesting, like, ecosystems because, like, we have deserts, but we also have, like, a tropical rainforest.
I was just going to say, we also have a rainforest, yeah.
We also have, like, the prairies with farms, but then we also have, like, mountain ranges and stuff like that. It's really just, like, a clusterfuck.
Okay, and my final rant-ish rave for Canada. Why is it so expensive to fly? I would absolutely love to just be like, you know what? On summer vacation for a week, I want to go to Newfoundland. I wanted to go to Newfoundland.
Domestic flying.
Domestic flying in Canada. A flight to Newfoundland will cost you an average, if you get a good deal, $2,000.
And, like, that's not even going on, like, a popular day.
No, like, people that I know would pay $1,500 depending on the season and the time of year. $1,500 sometimes for a one-way trip to Ontario or a round trip, depending on if it's, like, a low-fly season. If it's, like, Christmas, they're paying, like, $3,000 to go see their family at Christmas. Sorry, just a loop back to the flight thing. I should have gave some sort of comparison. When I decided to book a trip to Disneyland from where I lived in British Columbia to California, a round trip for 2 people. And I thought this was the WestJet birthday sale. $586. I was like, weird. If I get a flight from Vancouver, British Columbia to Hawaii, I'm looking at $1,200, $1,400 round trip. Now, does everybody remember the digits they gave you for flying to Ontario? Also, if you go to, my husband did this all the time with his family. When they wanted to go somewhere, they'd go across the border. Yeah. They drive across the border, and they have a flight from the Bellingham airport. And you go from the Bellingham airport to Las Vegas. It costs $50. Like, there's stuff like that, or there's, like, these packages. Like, if I hopped across the border and wanted to go see my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew in Arizona, I could probably only pay $55 to go. But stuff like that is, like, super rare here. I think a big thing, too, is, like, in Canada, we're basically, like, sold the vision of, like, when you're going on vacation, like, you go to a hot place, like a tropical place, or you can go to the States, so you can go to Disneyland, you can go to all these other places, when we have tons of things that are super fucking cool right here that we just don't utilize because they're not, like, advertised as much.
The number one, a secondary thing, if I had $1 million that I would do is make treehouse Airbnbs.
Yes.
Because I follow Zoe Sugg, also known as Zoella, in the UK, and they went to a treehouse hotel, and I just feel like I would totally vibe with that.
I would like that more than, like, a houseboat. I'm not a boat person.
I just feel like one of us would accidentally sleepwalk into the water.
100%. That's why I'm not a boat.
Like, I would be like, oh, we're gonna go, and then somebody walks too quickly and falls off the boat.
I know, and then, yeah. I mean,
and I think, too, that, like, makes sure that, like, there's tons of things here that a lot of people can't do anywhere else. Like, I feel like Canada is such a, like, diverse place that, like, every city that you go to is very, like, it's different, but, like, at least it's similar.
Yeah.
But you always, like, you can always, if you're like, oh, I'm really tired of how hot it is in, like, this place, I'm gonna go visit, like, this whole different, like, culture in the Northwest Territories. Or I want to go to see the Yukon or Nunavut, or I want to go to Ontario. Like, there's different things in different places that are very far apart, but it's pretty sick. Like, you could go anywhere and you're like, oh, new thing.
Well, there's so many different things. And if you want to feel what rain feels like at 4 different seasons at 4 different temperatures, please visit Vancouver, British Columbia, the land of rain.
Oh my God, it's so wet all the time.
Oh my God, all the time.
It is the England.
And that is why bloodstones are so huge there.
True that. Well, if you would love to know more about all that is Canadian outside of the things we discussed, please feel free to ask us. It is, like, August, so we kind of missed the boat on Canada Day, but it's fall, so...
It's not fall yet.
It's almost fall.
It's fall on September 21st. Because the day that we're recording is August 24th. And we're already starting to see all the fall things and people prepare for fall. And I'm getting all the crafts and my Pinterest turned to it. naturally my entire brain is like, it is Halloween.
My brain is going
Clearly very long.
its own list baking season. So thank you so much for listening. Feel free to pass this on to your friends. Follow us on Instagram at Burnt Out Perfectionist.
We're also on YouTube. TikTok, I will hopefully be posting more. We are on Threads. So please,
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Oh, nice. Please share, like, subscribe.
And always stay warped and twisted as ever.
Peace.